Hello, this is Clay from Wodify. Today we're going to talk about connecting custom domains in the Wodify platform. The reason you'd want to do this is when you're sending a marketing email, you don't want it to come from wodifymail.com. That's not very recognizable to your clients. You'd want it to come from clay@mygreatgym.com instead. So what we're going to talk about is how can we add more connected email addresses here by adding a custom domain. So you're going to go to Communication, Settings, Domains, and Emails. This is where you're going to set everything up. You see by default, we just have wodifymail.com, domain connected, and we have one email address associated with that. Now, if that's all you want, that's all you need to do. You can edit the local part of this email address if you want to, and kind of make your own a little bit. But if you want to connect your own domain, if you own your own domain, then you can set it up here to connect it and then set up any associated email addresses with that. Or if you want to use something like Gmail addresses, you can connect any email address individually. What'll happen here is it'll send you an email with a link to click, and you'll click on that link, and then once you do, it will be connected and it'll be ready to send. The reason to connect a domain instead is if you're connecting a lot of emails that are all associated with that same domain and you don't want to go through clicking each and every one of them. So we're going to look at the flow for adding a connected domain, and it's actually fairly simple once you go to do it. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to start a timer. I want to see how long this actually takes in real time. So I'm going to add this domain. I'm going to use a domain that I own, claytoncomby.net. And you see that I have access to the domain registrar, particularly to manage DNS. This is where we're going to make some changes in our domain registrar in the DNS records. So I'm going to add this domain, claytoncomby.net. It's going to allow me to add it because it sees that it's formatted like a domain. And then once it does add it, it's going to show me this. Now, these are DNS records that we need to add. So you see there are 3 CNAME records. These are required. There is a text record, and there is an additional text record here, and then there's an MX record. The reason these have green checks is that they already exist. We actually look for these records in the domain, and if they already exist, it means you don't need to add them again. That's particularly true of this DMARC record here, but the ones that have an X means we can't find them yet. You do need to add them. This MX one and this text one down here, these are recommended for better deliverability. They're not mandatory, but these CNAMEs are mandatory. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make this as easy as possible. I'm going to add new record. I'm going to choose CNAME, and then I'm going to actually add more records. I'm going to line these all up and just knock them right down. So you see that these are all CNAMEs because I know I have 3. And actually there should be an MX record here as well. So I'll get an MX record ready. You see that has some different values. This TTL, this is time to live. It just means how often it refreshes the cached value. You can leave it at whatever it is by default, but like a half hour or an hour is usually a good time. And I'm just going to copy and paste. You can see that it's showing me over here. It's kind of helping me keep track of what I've copied and what I haven't. Okay, do the 3rd CNAME record here. And now I'm on to the MX record. That priority 10. Not that I really need to copy it, but can't hurt. And now we have it. So I'm going to save all records. It's going to update DNS records. This is probably going to look different depending on who your domain registrar is, but success message is what we're looking for. You see we're at the 3-minute mark on our timer. And at this point, everything's done. That's all you actually need to do in order to make this work. And so you can check the connection. It's probably not going to happen yet. It really depends on who the domain registrar is, but it takes between 5 minutes usually, sometimes as low as 2 minutes, but it can take up to 48 hours, like we say here. Okay, we can see that just a handful of seconds passed, and now it is connected. Now, it might take a little while for the individual records to catch up, but ultimately the domain is connected. That means it is ready to send. So now we can add email addresses. So any email addresses that I add that are associated with a connected domain are automatically connected. So I've added a couple of email addresses here, and now what you can do is you can actually set some defaults. So right now I only have one location. It's called Clay Test. It's the name of the location here. And so I want Clay at Clayton Comby. You know what, let's make it info@claytoncomby.net as the default email for Clay Test. So now this is the default. And what that means is that when I go to send a new email, if I create this email, that's what it's going to put in the from email by default. So let's just make a new email here. And you can see info@claytoncomby.net is by default. Now we can specify no replies, or we can just say reply to the from email, info@claytoncomby.net. And if we change this, you can see all of these are available now. It'll automatically change over here. So now that you have these in here, you can select among them And if you're an admin, if you have admin permissions, you can actually see that list of connected email addresses over here. And if you want, you can add a new one. Now you can see it's added, it is connected, and now I have to refresh the page, but now I will be able to choose it. So now in this dropdown, we have Jim at ClaytonComby.net. So that is how connected domains works. Again, you don't need to connect a domain in order to get that benefit of being able to send from your own emails. If you have any email address, let's say I just want to do this at gmail.com, I'll add that email. That's Gmail. So obviously I don't have access to that domain, but it's going to send me a verification email. And once I go click it, then it is going to show up as verified. So I just clicked that link in the email and it just told me my email address is connected. So now if I refresh this page, now clayton.comby@gmail.com is connected. And if I went to send a marketing email, it would be an option to choose from here. So that's how it all works, and happy emailing.